Come through, queen. I wanna see ya. Come through, queen.
Hi, everyone. It's Dan.
And Brendan.
And this is Come Through, Queen. Hi, Brendan.
Hey, Dan.
So we had so much fun last week with Jess. We're like, we got to get someone back in the studio.
We need another friend.
Another returner. And what better returner is there than Evan Ross Katz? Welcome back, Evan.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
We're not going to tell you to shut up, even though that is the titular podcast name, Shut Up, Evan. We also have Drop Your Buffs, which a lot of fun stuff is going on there with, and just like that, recaps going on.
It's true.
And it started as a Survivor recap podcast.
Yes.
Which
We'll get
is
back
like-
to that one day.
which is strangely relevant to us this week.
I know.
So this week we have the return of Big Brother. And this is like a Big Brother light podcast. Like we talk about it when we want to.
Yeah, I feel like the past 2 summers we've talked about it a little more just because they were such important seasons to the show with the cookout and then Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, the Big Brother is definitely the type of show where like if it's a bad season, I'll just drop it. Like there's no skin off my back.
Evan, where are you with Big Brother?
I've been a fan for I've watched probably the last 10 seasons, and then I've retroactively watched season 6 and some of the big seasons.
Yeah.
My issue with Big Brother is I feel like I wish that they would go back after a season is complete and release an edited cut that takes out all of the ancillary unnecessary bits, because it's a really hard show to rewatch.
To binge, yeah.
Whereas with Survivor, I can always be tell someone, watch this season of Survivor, you'll love it. And it's, 15 tightly edited episodes. There's just so much Big Brother that it's asking a lot of a person to get into it. But I'm back on board, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, the premiere, to your point, is just so poorly produced. Garbage. 4 of you go walk in the house, and they walk in confused, looking for the back door.
I mean, that's why the US celebrity one was better, because the premiere was actually an edited episode.
Yeah.
So it was actually really fun to watch this past season when it was Cynthia and Carson playing the welcome wagon. Who's next? That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big news this year is, first we knew Cirie of Survivor fame's son was cast on this show. And that was a big deal in and of itself.
Totally.
And then there were rumors that lasted maybe up to 24 hours before the premieres aired.
Yeah.
That Cirie might be joining. And lo and behold, we have the legend herself. Now, Brendan and I only really know her from Traitors.
Fake fans.
Which you, as we read the Traitors cast, you were the one who told us, this is important.
Yeah.
So for those who might be listening who did not watch Traitors, don't know Survivor, sell us on Cirie.
But this is really interesting to me because I have to imagine there are going to be a lot of viewers that are either new to Big Brother altogether or are Big Brother fans that don't watch Survivor. So I actually do think that you guys are not in the minority here. A lot of people are going to be meeting Cirie. And what's interesting is they're likely going to hear from the faction of the fandom like me, oh my God, the legendary Cirie, which I don't want to oversell it. I will say I would put her distinctly in the top 10 of all time, or maybe in the top 5. She's played the game 4 times. Wow. 3 of those 4 times were she was running things, which is, it's rare to be on Survivor that many times to begin with, but also to have that many seasons that you really are a focal point.
Yeah.
It's rare. She, I think, immediately. I mean, there's some clips going around right now from the live feeds that sort of, underline what I'm going to say here. But it's just Cirie is a master of social game.
Yeah.
She's just so endearing and incredibly smart, able to connect with lots of people from lots of different walks of life in a real genuine way.
Yeah.
And there's just a je ne sais quoi about Cirie Fields. The camera likes her. It's comforting when she is on the screen. There's a reason why Survivor keeps bringing her back. I will just say, though, it's funny because her last season of Survivor was season 34. We're about to amp up season 45 of Survivor. So it's been a minute since she's sort of been in the canon.
We do 2 a year?
We do 2 a year.
Okay, so then it's been like 6 years?
Yeah, because we took some time off for COVID. Okay, yeah. But like about that. But like she's sort of been like an out of mind, out of sight person within the Survivor verse, unfortunately. Okay. And then this year it began with Snake in the Grass, which she appeared on. And then she jumped over to the Traitors, won the Traitors. Yes. And now this, so like they're definitely, like we are living in a surreissance, what I hope, as we approach season 50 of Survivor, which on Drop Your Buffs, we are calling the Legends season.
Sure.
The hope is that Cirie will pick up the win on Big Brother and jump over to the Legends and finally clinch her first Survivor victory.
Okay, so you watch Traitors, you watched a number of Big Brother seasons, and obviously a Survivor expert at this point. Would you say like Big Brother, this social game is more important than Survivor, or not? Because to me, it feels like they bill it as like the social game more than Survivor's like the competition, all this stuff.
What's funny though is like I feel like Big Brother has a lot more competitions that are a part of it. I think the biggest difference that will be interesting to see is that in Survivor, you can go on an immunity run and just keep winning. And with Big Brother, once you win HOH, you are ineligible the following week to become the HOH. Yeah. So that will be an interesting component to the game that is very different than Survivor. And then also Survivor, when Cirie first played, was a 39-day game, and now it is a 26-day game. This season of Big Brother is 100 days. Yeah. So I also just think this is very new to Cirie in terms of the length of time she's going to spend playing the game.
Was she good at challenges?
She wasn't bad. Okay. She wasn't good.
Okay.
Interesting. Who else are you excited about on this season of Big Brother? Anyone?
I feel like I don't really know them yet, so it's hard to say. But I do think we have like an interesting cast of characters. I feel like people are memorable to me. Yeah. Namely, Izzy, our fellow Brooklynite, the flautist, right?
Absolutely. It's interesting because I feel like when you meet them on the first episode, they lean into their archetypes very heavily. They lean into the things that they got cast for. So I kind of need like a week or two once they relax into like actually presenting as who they are versus like who CBS wanted them to present as. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like if we're judging a book by its cover, I have a good feeling about this bunch.
Yeah. And then do you ever watch live feeds?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Well, don't you feel like, because I feel like Twitter has really changed the game with live feeds because they're able to like procure and curate what you need to see. Because I remember back in the day, live feeds was kind of like you check in and you saw what you saw.
And there was maybe a blog that would like write about it.
Oh, yeah. Joker's updates. Like I was reading Joker's updates back when I was in high school.
Yeah. And then like I follow all those Big Brother accounts on Twitter, and it's so funny. Like about a week ago, they all started to perk up again. It's
like the cicadas like coming up from the ground every summer.
It's true. It's like for people that don't know, like, and this is something that separates Big Brother and Survivor, because like obviously Survivor has a huge fandom, but the Big Brother fandom, I mean, I think it supersedes Drag Race even. I mean, they are loud. They are hilarious. Yeah. Yes. Like Big Brother fans, part of my interest in watching the show is like surrounded by the fact that like I just want to be in the mix of the conversation of Big Brother because it's so entertaining. Like the memes, the clips that people pick out, dragging the people that need drag. Yeah. It's fun.
Speaking of that, actually, that's already come into the game this year. Apparently Izzy, our fellow Brooklynite, was talking about targeting Cirie, and she's like, if we target Cirie and kick her out early, like Twitter's going to be so pissed off at us. It's almost not worth doing it. Yeah.
I did have that thought though, where I think Cirie is good for quite a while. Yeah. Because I think that they actually will recognize that. But there's a famous season of Survivor, season 22. Okay. And they brought back 2 of like the most famous players ever, and they separated them into 2 tribes and like were like, let's see what happens. And in the 3rd episode, the one tribe votes off like this incredibly famous player, and it just basically from there it ended up being a terrible season, if not one of the worst. Right. So I feel like the worst case scenario for Big Brother from a production perspective is having this huge twist of like bringing Cirie back and then having her go right away. But I will say right now we have 17 house guests. Something tells me that we are not a fully formed cast just yet.
I heard there were 18 beds in the house.
Oh,
I heard 20.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that...
But again, it's like you could hear, it's like, you know.
We're doing 100 days. They've got to have like
That's
more stuff up their sleeves.
But I also feel like when it comes to like Big Brother rumors, do you ever feel this way where I'm like, I feel like people just say anything. And then occasionally something will stick because they've laid out every possible scenario that it's just by like deductive reasoning. So like when everyone was like, Cirie's coming back, I was like, well, her son is playing the game, so I understand like the genesis of that rumor.
Yeah.
I think that like this just happened to be true.
Yeah.
But I don't think the person that tweeted it like had information necessarily.
Right, exactly.
I saw a tweet. Someone tweeted, I'm rooting for these 4 people. And this was like cast announcement, and then before the show aired.
Oh, yeah.
It was the 4 people that are on the nomination block this year.
And they quote tweeted themselves being like, what did I do?
Like this has there's never been 4 people on the block. Like, what are the odds? But then like to your point, like something will be true.
Yeah, it's like a broken clock.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Is right twice. Yeah.
Back to your point, just really quick about how it would be a horrible choice for production if Cirie gets kicked off early. Think back to that COVID season when like Janelle was out really early and the season ended up sucking. Like Janelle, BB legend, who everyone loves and everyone watched on their TV, kicked off like so early in the game.
That's actually like that's a much better example than mine. Yes. And how devastating was it to watch her go and know that you're not only losing a legend, but you're losing someone who's such a great commentator of the game.
Exactly.
Because you need great talking heads.
Yeah.
I will say, like, if there's one reason why Drag Race All-Stars 8 did not sort of like rise to iconography was we didn't really have great narrators this season, especially when we lost Heidi.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need great narrators. Janelle's a great narrator. Cirie is, I mean, top tier is like not even doing it justice. Cirie, I mean, I will say I am curious to see, obviously I'm speaking with much hyperbole as I think a lot of people are when it comes to Cirie.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how she settles into this game. But from what I've seen of 12 hours of live feed, I'm very satiated.
Yeah, her like coaching her son, being like, don't let people hear you say to someone that you'll talk to them later. They don't need to know that.
Genius. Okay, the fact that we got you, Evan, this week, on the heels of your trip, and I'm going to say it right, out east, to Jill Zarin's annual gift bag party, which don't you dare invite Bethenny to, because she's not
want to come.
She's not coming, but you were there, thankfully. Give us the scoop.
Well, I was really excited because I didn't know what to expect, but I had heard that there would be like $5,000 in gifting for every guest that attended.
Love it.
And I was going with my fiance Billy and a friend of ours, Tessa. So I was like, we're gonna get $15,000 going to this event. So I was like, sold. So we got there. It was held at outdoors in Southampton, right by like a 2 or 3 minute drive from the water. Fully outdoor in late July.
Oh.
No, that day was actually the hottest day ever in New York, I would say.
I gotta tell you though, the uncovered area, like directly in the sun, was actually better because there was something about the tent sort of like trapped the heat.
Yes.
And I gotta tell you, there's something about being in close proximity of housewives with makeup melting down the side of their faces that is like, feels just particularly anthropological, where you're like, oh, this is the real part of the real housewives. Yeah. Had some great tacos. They had a fabulous taco truck there, which was definitely a highlight. Everything was free, so that was great. I mean, when you walked around, it was people. You'd have to listen to the spiel quickly about like, these are my like luggage cubes or whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, that's great. And then they'd be like, but you want the free stuff, and you'd be like, yeah. And then so you basically had like a bag with you, and you could just kind of fill it.
Yeah.
And so it was like Cynthia, Lou, Margaret was hawking her new
soiree.
Yeah.
Her drink, her mocktail.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Leanne Locken. Who else? It was definitely Jen Fessler, Kristen Takeman.
Bronwyn.
I did not see Bronwyn, but yes. Yeah, so definitely hodgepodge. And then just a really interesting group of people because when you see, there's something about Hampton socialites that have Well, they have a very unique faces.
Yeah.
And this idea of like them all interacting with one another, there's just sort of like this, there's like particularly seen be seen aspect to it. But I had a really great time. I gotta say, Jill Zarin in person looks as good as she does in everything that we've seen of her lately.
Never better.
Yeah, truly never better. And I just like being in the presence of Jill. Life sort of you feel very taken care of. Jill is just someone who like, she's got the flow down. She knows how to throw an event. Like, she's comforting.
I do think this is now piggybacking off of her conversation with Bethenny, like the many conversations she's had. Yeah. I do think like she is suited for something in reality television, in the public eye, that's not Housewives. I don't know what it is.
The GOAT. Remember that show she's going to be on?
Not the GOAT, but like she has something to her that is like very watchable and entertaining.
Well, what's interesting about the GOAT is she had mentioned, I think it was on one of Bethenny's 8 podcasts, that she was sort of like the mama bear in that group. And I feel like that could be a really good energy for Jill at this part of her life.
Yeah. Because she was the mama bear to Bethenny back in the day.
Absolutely. But like if she were to find people that were more receptive to that energy, I think it could be a great alchemy for her. So very curious to see that. And then she was, very excited to tell me about 2 other unnamed projects of hers in the works that I gotta keep my eye out for.
Oh my God. Well, you better keep your eye out.
She didn't like put it in the vault. I'm surprised.
Yeah, she did put it in the vault.
Okay, so sadly, Jill is not a part of some late breaking news that we learned this week. A tweet, Instagram post went out from Peacock and Bravo. We're in a New York state of mind, Apple emoji, as a thank you to the fans for all the support of RHONY and Crappie Lake. The new season of RHUGT4 will be RHONY Legacy coming this December on Peacock, and then we'll see you in Morocco in 2024. Reaction, Evan?
Surprised.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always, ever since they made the decision to announce the RHONY split ahead of either show being cast or going into production, I've always had a lot of questions about how Bravo/Peacock sort of like operates, because there was a time when it's like, you kept things in the vault until they were ready to like come out. And I feel like now they're very much like they put out the trailer for Ultimate Girls Trip 3 at BravoCon, but then waited months and months and months to release it. And then, so I just feel like there's almost at this point sort of an understanding of like, you don't believe anything until you have like a date out there.
Expect the unexpected.
I mean, it's even like when you hear the thing of like this trailer for, the mid-season trailer is coming for this thing, and you're like, okay, but like when? So I appreciate the effort to spin it and be like, because you guys demanded it, we're giving you what you want, which is like smart of them, I suppose.
Yeah.
I will say that it's my understanding, and take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's my understanding that Ultimate Girls Trip 5, what was previously going to be 4, the Morocco trip, will include all the storylines that we were worried might get chopped.
Yeah.
So I still feel confident about 5.
Okay.
I don't know like what caused this shakeup, but I don't think the reason is something that should make us worried about Morocco.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, my fan theory, and this is based off of nothing, is just like there does seem to be a very positive reaction to Crappie Lake, even though it's not like changing the game numbers wise or anything, but like everyone's like, this is a fun, light show. They like seeing the girls. I think it makes sense to air this RHONY Legacy thing earlier so that if they want to do something with them again, they can do that in the new year rather than waiting until this trip airs in like March, April, May or something.
I will say, Alex McCord erasure, pretending that it wouldn't be a thank you to RHONY fans for releasing the Morocco season.
I mean, this is the biggest sin of this trip. The fact that Alex McCord is not on it, like, drives me wild.
It's like so stupid that they used her for RHUGT4 or now 5, and then like didn't think to have her on Legacy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's the complaint that Jill's not on this. I do think like Alex being on this would have been such a showstopper moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one thing about. I mean, I'm obviously excited to see all the girls back together, but when I saw the cast photo that they released, it was like, it felt like a continuation of what would have been the next season of New York as we knew it had they brought Kelly and Kristen back into the fold. Yeah. It's missing that X factor that Alex would have certainly brought, because getting Kelly, while I'm excited to see Kelly back, I'm not surprised to see Kelly back in the way that like Alex McCord, what's the opposite of a jump scare? But like a good jump scare. Like that's what Alex McCord's presence is. And so that is certainly missing. Also, I think you guys speak about this sometimes. I like a cast of 7 or 8.
Yes,
and 6
always
doesn't do it for me. That's why I'm particularly loving OC, because now that we've got Vicky in the mix with Taylor, I'm like, we've got a filled up table, and it feels like RHONY season 7.
Yeah,
it feels great. Yeah.
Okay, the Carlos King Nene Leakes part 2 of their podcast interview dropped this week, and I think this might have been like maybe the juicier half in terms of like Nene, like Carlos. The cliffhanger from last week was Carlos asking Nene about the lawsuit against Bravo. And then Nene picks up this episode saying, well, I can't really talk about it. And then proceeds to talk about it for 20 minutes, which I can't imagine how that like flew by the legal team. And the fact that like this is still an ongoing lawsuit.
But she's saying she would love to reach a place where she's like back together with Andy. It's just like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
I loved when she identified who on Atlanta and Potomac were stars and who weren't.
There were none.
Yeah. And she said Robin and Giselle are starless, and Robin responded on Instagram and was like, Nene's right. I'm not a star.
Which is like why we love Robin. I thought that, because I was so compelled by part 1. It was so exciting to hear from her, because I think wisely she's kind of been out of the public, the spotlight for a beat. So it was refreshing, and also it was such a reminder of the fact that like there's a quickness to Nene that like just the other girls do not possess. It's like her and Bethenny alone that have that slickness. And she looks great. It was great hearing from her. She seemed to be in a really good place. I felt like with this part 2, which it should be noted, this was all filmed as one interview, but just split into 2. I felt like she got a little out of pocket at several points, particularly when talking about the fact that like she thought she ought to be bigger than Kim Kardashian, and she was like, Kim came after me, but
Not
like,
true.
no, she didn't.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make these declarative statements, you should recognize the fact that people are going to fact check them.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was something about Nene that I walked away from it being very confused, because as you mentioned, she's still in this lawsuit. Yeah. But this seems like an interview that it's very clear that Nene wants to come back. Yeah. And that this interview was like her angling to say that like, the show is down bad, which she's correct. Yes. It's down bad. But as many have now online pointed out, Nene's later seasons of Housewives are her non-canon seasons. Yeah. When we say we miss Nene, we miss the Nene of seasons 1 through 7.
Yeah. When she got back from the Ryan Murphy factory, it just like wasn't great.
I don't know exactly where her seasons land in terms of like the Come Through Queen history. I feel like so much of my memory of talking about her on the show was negative. Yeah. Because like she was dragging the show down at that point.
I think we started in seasons 8 or 9.
Which is like the downfall era. Yeah.
I do think the one moment of hers that I loved was when she was talking about Claudia Jordan.
Oh my God, yes.
I thought it was so great to hear a rare moment of Nene like giving credit to Claudia and like saying like she was a worthy adversary for me, which is true. Yeah. And it was nice for her to recognize that, because I feel like I love a shady housewife, but I feel like you sort of need different colors at different times. And that's one of those moments I'm like reminded of how much I love Nene, because it's like she's not just one note. She's not, which is one of I think the bigger problems with someone like Cirie, where Cirie is sort of like always like giving shady responses to things, and you need more genuine moments. And I think like Nene is able to look at someone like Claudia and is smart and shrewd enough to recognize that though they were not friends, she was good on the show. Yeah. And I like moments like that.
Dan's favorite housewife.
One of my favorites. Yeah. Justice for Claudia.
Listen, she'd be fun to bring back.
Yeah. I like if we were to do one season wonder RHOGT, she'd be like the headliner for me.
Yeah. Jules Weinstein would be
Jules,
up there.
Yeah. Okay, so on the heels of the Nene Carlos King interview, Sutton Stracke has entered the chat with Nene's former best friend, Cynthia Bailey.
Yes.
With, I gotta say, like a very chic photo in the back of a car, tagged in London, UK.
I think they were there for Mick Jagger's birthday.
So Sutton writes, there's no better way to announce Sutton Brand's first #sustainable fashion curator with Cynthia Bailey than a trip to London for a hush birthday party.
Mick Jagger.
We welcome Cynthia with open arms and couldn't wish for a better designer to join our team of #circular fashion and #sustainable warriors to help change our earth. Be sure to check out my new page at Sutton Brands for information and to see great things to come. Is Cynthia getting a diamond? I don't mean this season, but like she is like ingrained with the girls at this point.
I also think it has like, if I think about how much she filmed with Atlanta, it feels like they're cutting her out so that she can be like more of a thing on Beverly Hills. Would they? I don't know if they would do that, you know, but
she did film with Atlanta and they didn't include it in the mid-season.
Exactly.
Wow.
Maybe they're avoiding doing too much with her because she's going to be a bigger part in Beverly Hills. I know she filmed a lot.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is like I watched an interview that she did on the, I was going to say carpet of Jill Zarin's event, whatever it was. And she indicated the fact that she seemed very at peace with like Housewives being in the rear view and focusing on acting, her words.
Yeah.
So it's odd that I would think that she would be like wanting to reintroduce herself in the Housewife verse.
But she like has been on Jeff Lewis a few times and she has indicated that she would love to be a friend of.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think on anything that'll take
either, yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I mean, I welcome it. I would love sort of that shift in energy both for Cynthia and for Beverly Hills. I do just want to say though, with regards to Sutton calling it like a circular fashion brand or whatever those words were, this is coming from the woman who is dripping in Dolce & Gabbana.
Yes.
So I have to say, like, I mean, beyond my disdain for that brand, it's just there's a very blatant irony here of like Sutton being the person pushing sustainability when I think we could dig into her wardrobe a bit. And,
yes.
Very interesting.
I remember when she was first introduced and like in her first episode, they're in the like Dolce & Gabbana apartment. I was like, Evan's going to say something about this.
It's funny when I was at the GLAAD Awards in Los Angeles, I ran into Sarah Michelle Gellar and I was like, oh my God, I love this look so much. And she goes, oh, she's like, it's Dolce. But like, she's like, but don't worry. Like, she was like, I don't support them or whatever. And I was like, Sarah. I was like, of all people and at all of the events.
Oh my God, that's so funny. While we're on a little bit of a Atlanta conversation between Nene and Cynthia, Atlanta is currently chugging along. And
I wouldn't use the word chugging.
Sputtering?
Yeah.
All right, sputtering along. And we're still in Portugal. I think like in top of episode, someone's actually calling Cynthia. Because we're like getting like...
We're getting the tea about Bolo night.
Yeah, we're witnesses to the Bolo night.
Which feels like we're really like...
Yeah.
It's like, why remind us of like a recent high of this show when we're so down bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, and this is not coming from a place of I know anything.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that looking at the early success of the RHONY reboot, that if there's any franchise that's going to be sort of like up for consideration in this sort of like new era we're in, to do an entire cast flip, I think it would be Atlanta.
Oh, they're number one for certain. I mean, the thing is, like, I think even when there's like, for instance, Salt Lake City, there was maybe not a great season last year, but a lot of people were talking about it. And I don't even think people are really like talking about Atlanta other than just saying it's not good. Yeah. Like, I think that's the only thing they're saying. Whereas like in Salt Lake City, they were like, oh, like Heather's black eye. Like there was at least like a marquee thing. Or obviously Jen Shah changing the plea and like getting convicted and like all that stuff.
And I used to think it was like a problem with how the show is being like pieced together. I remember saying on this podcast, I was like, they should really hype up the Drew divorce. But then the reason Scandival was so successful was it came during an actual like great season of television apart from the scandal.
Yeah.
Whereas this is happening on a lackluster season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really know like an easy fix outside of cleaning shop, because it's surprising to see Kenya, who even Nene identified.
Yes.
I think that was the one person she said she did see star quality in.
Yes, yeah.
She was like, yeah, she wouldn't quite say she was a star. But anyway, but it's interesting seeing someone like Kenya, who's often been so reliable, just flatlining this season, where, I don't see a solution. Because part of me is like, okay, well, we could I think Sheree's time has lapsed for now. I mean,
They'll bring her back for a
and
fourth
then
time.
like Sanya, I don't think was ever a fit, but like, there's a part of me that's like, okay, well, could we rework this and everything? The one thing I will not stand for and what I do not need is bringing Kim Zolciak back.
No.
I think if that's the route they're going to go, then we're just going to have this. The problem is going to persist.
I mean, Nene talked about it herself on the interview where she was like, yeah, it was really unfair that Kim never had to go on like the vacations with us and like all this kind of stuff. And that would just happen again. One of my big things too is if someone like Muñetta is such a big part of the drama, like she was this week, it's like, why aren't we like giving her a peach? Why aren't we seeing her life with Heath? Why, like, what's going on here?
Star less.
And this is one of the things that has me, I'm going to say, like a little worried about Potomac right now, is in seeing everything that's going down with
Friends of
and everything being such big focal points.
Yeah.
I miss the days of, who is the icon? I know you love her from season 3 of RHONY, the original friend of.
Oh, Jen Gilbert.
Jen Gilbert.
Yes.
That's how I like my friend of.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That degree of friend of.
Sure.
I feel like the fact that we're allowing friend ofs to, like, basically, I think Marlo, who was at the time such an anomaly, sort of like cracked open the vortex, and friend of became a situation when you could really basically become a cast member. But I feel like right now, seeing everything coming out of Potomac, it's almost like the wives themselves can back out of the drama, have the friends get in the mix, and then the wives can be the peacemakers or the commentators.
Yeah.
And I think it's setting a bad precedent.
Not great. So much of this episode in particular was about filming something when cameras are down. And it's like, could there be a worse conversation for reality television? Like, we want everything filmed as the viewer. So like, what are we achieving here?
Also, it was like, I think 11:46, or like, it was not that late.
Yeah.
It's like, this production company knows that if you have a rare instance on this season of Atlanta when you actually have the majority of the cast in the room together, if they're still hanging and there are drinks flowing, we don't put the cameras down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, let's just get cameras up on the walls like in Summer House.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, that's a whole, they would be signing up for a whole nother show, but yeah. I mean, the only like things from this episode that moved me were like callbacks. And even like the Marlo callback wasn't that long ago, but the today drained me like callback.
Yeah.
I love that. And then I believe it was Kenya who said like, you said what you said and what you said was some bullshit. It was like interesting, her referencing sworn enemy Nene.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know. That's RHOA.
Yeah, that's RHOA. They filmed the reunion.
Oh yeah, they did. And then like the cast photo was leaked, and then we're like waiting for the official photos still, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's left to really hash out at the reunion.
Two-parter, I hope.
Atlanta's first half-apart reunion.
I would say marquee main event right now, RHONY.
Oh my God.
Episode 3. Now, Evan, we'd love to hear from after he listens to Come Through Queen on Friday and tell us his review of our reviews. And Evan, you were originally like not hot on RHONY premiere.
Yeah.
And where are you now?
I'm like boiling.
You're boiling hot.
I'm all the way in. There's a comfort that I remember I used to feel when I would watch RHONY back in the day that I'm feeling that same feeling. There's an energy that these women are bringing. And there's also, so the scene that I would point to this week is like, or maybe this was in the last episode, but when they were all getting ready to go out, was that this episode where they went and had lunch together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was this episode. Yeah. This was post Shakshuka, or post the Shakshuka that never was. But when they all were getting ready and they first come downstairs and then Jenna's sitting there, we first get the shot of Jenna on the couch. Then the other women come down. Jenna does an impromptu photo shoot for the girlies. And then there's just like, then they're all in the same color. There are just so many like small micro beats that happen in that scene. That I feel like these women are just really interesting to watch. And it's not all about drama. There are small things. In episode 2, when we have Jessel ordering the martini with tequila, we're having fights over Shakshuka. We have Uba and Bryn like openly fighting for the affection of this trainer in like the most overt, very Ramona Sonja-ian way.
Oh my God, took a page,
Yeah, it's just, it feels comforting. What I am curious about, we're 3 episodes in, 2 of which have been in the Hamptons. I'm curious to see what happens once we're back in the Big
city.
Apple.
Next week.
Yeah. But so far, so great.
Yeah. I have a complaint, which is I do think the best part of this episode was the first 7 minutes, which they released that full clip ahead of this episode. So then when I was watching, I was like, the first 7 minutes kind of blended into last week's episode, which I think of the 3 has been the best one of the 3 so far. So I need them to stop posting.
And they already did it.
Much.
They already did it.
They already did it for this week.
Yeah.
I just gotta not watch.
I'm sorry, the Shakshuka was.
The Shakshuka was what?
Made.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Thank God.
Episode 4?
Yes.
Spoiler alert. Well, thankfully, the Shakshuka was made. The Shakshuka was made tonight as well.
Yeah.
Delicious.
They say you can't work out after eating Shakshuka.
And here we are.
We could certainly podcast after eating Shakshuka.
Yes, Dan made his famous Shakshuka.
As made in Sac Harbor
Yes.
for Honey Mustard Girls Bachelorette Party.
Yes.
Wow.
I think it's my 3rd time having it.
Full circle moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in P-Town as well. Yeah.
Another credit to this season is in episode 2 when we're in the Hamptons, we only have 5 ladies at that point because Bryn's sitting that episode out.
Yeah.
And I was worried, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's new girl energy.
Yeah.
We're in an unknown space. I was like, how is this going to play out? And when they went to dinner together, I was like, everyone is activated right now. I was like, despite it being 5 ladies, it had an essence of 7.
Just like crawling downstairs at the topping rows, wandering into the kitchen.
But also like that moment, like was as crazy as it was, it didn't feel performative.
No, that felt like who Uba is.
Yeah.
Uba sells it. Uba sells it.
She's one to watch.
Yeah. I have another controversial take maybe. And I watched it twice and maybe I've like softened on this take a little bit. It felt like when Bryn joined, I was a little annoyed by her because it's a little performative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's controversial.
Okay.
I loved her look though. The like white trash look who called it a white trash look? Didn't someone? Yeah.
I think so.
The mink, the fur coat.
Yeah, though I don't support fur, but I liked the look.
We don't know. It could be faux.
It was faux.
What I'm still learning right now is sort of like who, because we're figuring out who's sort of down with who.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was interesting this episode figuring out that Sai was kind of annoyed with Jessel because they rode there together. So in my mind, I was like, oh, they're comrades or something. And then I realized I was like, oh no, Sai's really with Jenna and thinking that Jessel's behavior was really rude with regard to the camisole.
Jessel, I think might be the best one actually. Nothing
Jessel
crazy.
is the Alex McCord of New Era.
Ooh, so no wonder I love her.
There's an interesting. So my tenant, I was gonna say a lack of self-awareness. It's not that. It's that the self that she is aware that she is not the self that shows up on camera.
Sure.
Yeah. I do think, to Alex's credit, she might be a little sharper than Jessel. I don't see the sharpness there.
Yeah.
With Jessel, the apology and not apologizing and then opening the wound at lunch was just so funny.
Oh my God.
She's so funny. Like, she is truly the one least trying to be something on the show, I think. Like, she is just whatever she is.
No, though, she is trying to be something, and she's, like, kind of failing miserably.
Okay, sure. Everyone's trying to be something,
Yeah.
but it doesn't it doesn't smell of it, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
She is one to watch.
Jenna Lyons is doing an amazing job, sweetie.
She's got it. What I'm curious about, and I'm going to be honest, I am friends with Jenna, and I'm only saying that because there's some bias here. I'm not trying to like...
Yeah.
And when she and I had lunch together, it was like several weeks before the show, and there was like a nervousness about her that made me nervous in thinking that like it just wasn't that like the Jenna that I know was not going to translate on the show.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm so delighted so far through episodes in that Jenna's quirkiness, her weirdness, and not the kind of weird that Aaron was identifying, because like the Dill thing, like that's not the weirdness of Jenna. But the distinct, like there's not another Jenna Lyons, that aspect of her that's showing up so far on the show, and it's just a delight to watch.
And it feels like, just watching her presence online, it feels like she's feeling herself in this moment, and she's liking that she's on the show. She's leaning in, posting a lot on Instagram. Like, it's really interesting.
Ooh, I haven't followed a single one of the gals yet.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Fake fan.
Okay,
Yeah.
Fake fan.
I'm only touching down with Jenna so far. Oh, well, I did do a deep dive on Psy just because I wanted to. I mean, I work in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
She works in the fashion industry. I'd never seen her before.
Jessel as well.
No shade whatsoever. But I wanted to touch down and like educate myself on like who she is beyond the show. And it was very interesting. Have either of you touched down on Psy's YouTube?
Yes, I have actually.
No.
I did before, because I was trying to figure out exactly where she lives, and it feels like we figured that out now.
Yeah.
But so I did watch a few videos just to get like a feel for her house and that kind of stuff.
So, okay, what is an episode about?
Well, it depends. She's like doing like typical influencer stuff. One time, okay, before the show, she didn't show her husband's face on social media. And so they did like a Q&A once where his face is covered by an emoji.
Well, like the babies.
The entire
like the babies.
time, yeah.
We always talk about the babies.
Yeah, the babies.
It was interesting. Like she does a lot of like, you know, vlogging from Milan Fashion Week, but I watched this one video. It was an unboxing, and I'm not really familiar with like unboxing culture, so I'm like probably not the audience. But like she was unboxing a haul from the Hermes store, and in my mind, I just was like, I guess what I'd love to know, and I'm saying this genuinely, I'd love to know who the audience is that wants to watch an Hermes unboxing. And is their thought pattern that like they're gonna see something in Psy's video and say, I need to run Hermes and get that?
I mean, this is the greatest mystery to me. Like, I really do not understand, like, why does one follow? Not her, but like, what she's selling.
Yeah. I gotta say this, like sometimes I get stuff and I'm like, and it's sent in the kind of box that is like beckoning me to make unboxing content.
Sure.
And I'm just like, I'm not like an on-camera person, but I also just like don't. I couldn't do that like with any sense of genuine delight.
Yeah.
What I could only do would be like a John Early style Cola Scola like parody of what I understand unboxing to be. But there's just such an earnestness about Psy.
That's not your thing.
No.
Yeah.
The one thing, so of the ladies, the one I'm like sort of I'm still not yet landed on is with Psy. The sort of the toilet paper thing at Aaron's, the several like shady remarks. I do feel like Psy can be a little biting in a way that feels for the camera.
Yes, 1,000%.
I think she needs to sort of like, I'm not telling anyone what to do or what to be, but I do think that like she could try and be a little friendlier to some of these other women early on and like establish true friendships. Because if we think back upon, you know, the disillusion of the friendship between Jill and Bethenny, the reason why it stung was because of they were great friends and it fell apart. I feel like Psy's coming in with a little bit of like a wall up, but it, you know, to her credit, she does admit that, you know, she's a person that has a lot of walls up.
Yeah.
But I think if you're gonna function well on a show like this, those walls have to at least, you know, come down a little bit.
Yeah. I was not happy to hear, but like her story about the dollar store was interesting. And
but just growing up, like the whole, like, I lived here, I was here, blah, 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 blah.
And it was so interesting. Like, that was an interesting moment of, like, the other women I thought were having a hard time.
Oh, they didn't know what to do with
understanding that, like, that was a vulnerable moment of her showing the fact of, like, the me that you're meeting right now there's a big distance between the me how I was when I grew up and the circumstance I grew up in. And the other women I think were like, we're just like having a fire in Sag Harbor right now. Like,
again, I'm loving, but one more, my last complaint.
You've had 3 of them.
I know. This is my third and final complaint. 2 truths and a lie. I feel like we just did this 2 episodes ago, and it's like really corn on the cob for me. Like,
it's orientation week.
Like the way that they keep like
it's
like for 2 truths and a lie. No one said like did someone say it had to be sex focused? It just felt like everyone was...
but Jessel's took me out. Because as we're going around, I'm like, I don't think Jessel's going to be able to participate in the way that the game is going.
Yeah.
And then, boy, it was
the popsicle.
Yeah. That's true.
Want to hear something that I learned on 2 T's in a Pod? Not to report about another podcast.
No, we love doing that here.
Tamra Judge has done that.
Of course.
She's doing it this season.
Yes, ending. Wow. Yeah, I just, like, it felt like we had this conversation at Jenna's get-together.
Yeah.
So,
but I think to Brendan's point, it's like, I think that they're figuring out the rhythm of the show and how to do group scenes, which I imagine is particularly difficult when you don't know one another and have no history.
Yeah. Exactly.
To what you were saying earlier about like my sort of like being a little mid on it early and then like warming up now, I feel like I was surprised during week 1 that everyone online seemed to be so hype, which was such a stark contrast to everyone being so against this when it was first announced.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel a little bit more settled in. I'm less beholden to the show that I once knew. I'm like, I've reconciled the fact that like RHONY seasons 1 through 12 is its own show, and that this is something different. There is an And Just Like That-ian quality to this, where it's kind of like there's familiarity, but it's something different, and I'm accepting. I'm in the acceptance.
Yeah, that's
phase.
the weird part about me recapping is because I watched the first 3 weeks ago.
You're finally caught up now.
So now I'm finally with you.
Us,
yeah.
Us simple
But
people.
did you just get the new drop?
No.
Because they sent me 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh.
And I said to Billy, I was like, do you want to like have a day and we'll binge it? And Billy was like, no. We're watching them as they air.
Yeah,
which is what happened for me. I got And Just Like That 1 through 7.
Oh.
And I watched the first 3, and then I had a moment of like, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
I don't like watching in advance. I want to watch with everyone.
Yeah, and it's even more confusing when you're getting confused between episodes because they dropped to 7 minutes. I watched all 3 together, so I'm like, what even happened?
Oh, so it's like one big block.
Yeah.
I also got to say, like, I love seeing the show in the Hamptons. I think there's just something,
and in the fall.
Yeah.
Well, to the point that you were saying before of like and just like that ification of it, it feels like, you know, we've been in the Hamptons before with the original RHONY women, and I almost feel like I'm watching like a different Hamptons now.
Yes.
You know, through a
Which
new
is
lens.
interesting because isn't Lou's house in SAG?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, where like I think it was Bryn or one of them made that comment about like how like because I think it's October, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like how unusual it is to like come out to the Hamptons in October, and it's like, girl, that's like when most people with Hamptons homes are like enjoying their home the most, because all of the mishigas that comes in for the summer and causes all of like the rubbernecking and all of that is gone.
Yeah.
The weather is still nice. You can still do evening walks on the beach.
Yeah.
The restaurants are still open.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild that was presented as though like Aaron was like offering them like second prize of like being like, you can come to my Hamptons home, but it's October, when I'm like, what a fabulous weekend to like get out of the city.
Yeah, the way these women treat Aaron in her home.
Tough.
I love it.
Tough. But I gotta say credit to Aaron for not like Aaron's keeping it moving, which is one thing you guys always talk about on this podcast. Yeah. And I love that there was a great moment when Jenna and her sort of have their quick aside, and Jenna's like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you wanted me to stay. Aaron's like, yeah, I was bothered by it, and they hug and move on. And then Bryn attempted to bring that up and be like, oh, like Aaron, like you make exceptions for Jenna. And like what Brynn wasn't understanding is like, no, Aaron's just keeping things going. And she's not going to make this a plot point where it's like her v. Jenna. And she's like, I wanted you to spend the night. You didn't spend the night. I felt some type of way about it. You apologized. We move on.
And she got a great line in with it too. Maybe I just like her better.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Was that in the trailer?
I think so.
I think
it's a good trailer line.
I mean, the Brynn like attempt of equating like not like it sounded like this dinner like you were supposed to be there and then you just last minute did not show up and went somewhere else and were posting from it. Like there's no reason for that. Like Jenna outlined like I had to call, you guys were keeping me up. Like there were reasons. I have a house here. There was reasons why things happened. Like I don't see the reason for Brynn's actions other than I don't like this restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also that was fun.
I know, it's funny. It's funny. But like, I'm just saying like her argument fell for me.
Agreed. Yeah.
To transition us a little bit, we're in Sag Harbor. Luann, this episode of Crappie Lake, wore the dress she wore when she did the one-on-one interview with Andy.
After her arrest.
After the arrest in the backyard. I was like shocked to see that pop up in Crappie Lake.
Speaking of that, I just love the Bravo one-on-ones that are like on location. Like when he did the one with Kim Richards back in the day.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
We were robbed of one with Jen Shaw. I feel like we should have gotten the final days before.
I think he tried.
Yeah.
And then things fell apart.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
What are you making of the Crappie Lake assance that's going on?
So I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I plan to like fully binge at some point. I feel like it was a little oversold because as someone who recently rewatched The Simple Life, I don't think it's an apt comparison.
Where does one watch that?
I bought it.
Okay,
from Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
What?
Thank you, Jeff.
Bezos.
Yes. I'm currently on season 2.
Okay.
But there's just a quality about them that I don't think it's an apt comparison.
Yeah.
I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
I like the premise a lot. I don't know. I'm not Sonja and Lou. I will always love the Sonja of seasons 3 and 4 of RHONY.
Yeah.
When Sonja started to like become like the season 9, 10, like that Sonja, the one that I think exists today. It's not that I don't like her. It's that I don't really feel like we're ever touching down in reality.
Yeah.
And what's odd is like you go back and watch season 3, part B or whatever we want to call it. And it's like, she was so like, not
lucid.
Voice of reason, but like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have a hard time understanding like how much Sonja is like performing the role of Sonja Morgan. And like, but then also part of me thinks that like she's been performing the role for so long, she became the role.
Yeah,
And it's similar with Lou. So there's a part of me that's like, it's nice to see them on camera. They're familiar. They're fun. It's light.
Yeah.
But I'm not like clamoring for more, but I do like the idea of Crappie Lake. To me, it's like, could we do the same concept with like Karen Huger and Giselle?
Right. That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
And Karen and Giselle are famously the best when they're kind of getting along.
Yeah. I also think it actually serves as a reminder as it's airing after RHONY as to like why RHONY should not be these 2 women. Because like we're not going to get like personal storylines. We're not going to get great interpersonal storylines. We kind of just like need to let them be and not like follow the Housewives formula.
Yeah. By the end of old RHONY, these women, none of them had personal storylines. Like, it's like also kind of weird because it's like their kids are adults, but like, don't you still hang out with your parents sometimes?
Oh, those. But I mean, like Quincy has never been on a split second of footage.
Right. Like, I almost feel like this concept could work for an Ultimate Girls Trip because part of me, too, thinks that, like, 2 people is not enough to really fill out the screen.
If they took, like, a whole group of women took over a town, that would be something.
And also, it's like, I'm craving someone, like, more of, like, the Sutton Stracke sort of degree of wealth because the other thing about Lou and Sonja, particularly Sonja, is it's like they are ostensibly like sort of living on House of Cards. Whereas I'd love to see someone like Sutton who we know is accustomed to a certain kind of lifestyle. It's like this to me is like it's not that out of the box that Sonja. I mean, I can imagine Sonja going and staying at this hotel. On a road trip.
We watched Sonja in her rundown townhouse with like water dripping on her.
Exactly. This is like a step up.
So why don't we go full Simple Life reboot and have it be Kathy Hilton and Sutton Stracke?
Sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
Okay. Orange County. A return to form? Question mark. What's your answer?
Yes.
What's your history with OC?
Yeah, what is your history?
I've watched it from, I believe I started with Bass Lake because I like season 3.
That's it. That's where you got
so I was early. Yeah. It's actually funny. My dad, may he rest in peace, he is the one that used to have it on in the background.
Oh, that's funny.
And I would be like, what is this show? So it's actually sort of him that introduced me. But I always like never, because RHONY was my first like time loving Housewives. And I never sort of saw them as like companion shows. They were very like, I didn't equate them. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's bringing Heather back last season. It felt like there was a missing piece that Tamara feels like, okay, now, and then now with Vicky, even more, it's like, I can give credit to Bravo for making the mistake of cutting, or who's to say if it even was a mistake? They maybe needed the time off, but I appreciate them for being like, listen, we need to bring these ladies back.
Yeah,
I mean, great to see that.
We were part of the voices being like, we need some change. Like we need Tamara maybe to leave when she did.
Well, I mean, I think the problem with so many of these people who are on for so long, Kyle, Candy, Teresa, Cynthia, is you either get like so comfortable or you get so big for your britches that like neither are fun to watch.
Yeah.
That for them to now come back and like dance for their dinner a little bit is like, now I'm watching something.
Yes. And you made the point last week about like how activated Tamara is right now, and like it's working. Like I do worry about Tamara's long game because I do think like moments like in last week's episode throwing the napkin at Jen, that's a little bit of like, what are we like? It's a little, Tish. But I do on the whole really appreciate her presence. What I'm worried about, having seen the mid-season trailer, I'm not really looking for a Heather takedown plot line.
Yeah.
It's just not what I came for.
I don't want to scare her away.
I really like Heather, and I don't think Heather got enough credit for that moment in the tractor with what's her name?
Gina.
With Gina. I thought Heather was like a really good friend in that moment in a really genuine way that I really just enjoy Heather. I don't think she's like the most intriguing housewife, but I think she sort of reminds me, there's just certain housewives that don't really ping but are necessary. Not necessary, but like good to have around. And I feel like, I think that the show is better with Heather on it.
Well, I mean, I think she serves a great purpose of being like this incredibly rich woman amongst these other women who are not even close. So they're all kind of dancing around her a little bit.
Yes. Do you know who the comparison I would make would be? Like Adrienne Maloof, who is like not vital to like the success of Beverly Hills and obviously like the least important of the OGs, but like having her in the mix like made things better. It's better when she was around.
I would argue that Heather is vital to OC right now though. Like they need her so bad because they need an enemy that is also a formidable opponent, which we're going to see. And I'm scared that they're going to try to take her down and scare her away, though she has indicated that she's kind of here to stay in like recent interviews. And she wants to bring Gretchen and Rossi back.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, we'll see what happens with Morocco, but like that could be a reality. So riddle me this. I'd love to hear what you boys think about Emily, because I feel like we've been on a real journey with Emily.
I think she is Orange County.
I don't.
Oh, you don't think so?
I could take her or leave her.
I feel like this is interesting hearing this because I feel like you guys don't touch down on Emily a ton. Am I right?
We don't touch down on her a ton. Yeah.
Because so I could take her or leave her.
No, because I guess like I just think a lot of the other OC women can like fall back easily, and she rises to the occasion and she stirs shit up. She's like Tamara Jr. in a way.
Yeah, and now they're like BFF besties.
They were on together?
Yeah. Actually, this is a question for Dan, but also Evan, you can answer. What are you thinking about Gina? As Gina's number one super fan, what are you thinking about Gina these days?
I do love Gina too. I don't understand like the Gina Emily haters. Like I think they both are good for the show. And for a show that's tried to add so many people along the way, like they added them and they worked.
Yeah. The realtor like dress rehearsal today.
Oh my God.
I do think the rehabilitation of Shane, I think, is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like he now is sort of seen as like her like goofy husband when like there was a while everyone was like, she needs to leave this man.
Yeah.
With Gina, I do just want to say I appreciate and give her a lot of props for putting this putting her life on camera and, you know, being someone who experienced domestic abuse and is in a complicated situation in which she has to form some kind of relationship with this man because she wants for the greater good of her family. And it's complicated and messy. And I really applaud her for bringing that onto the show and doing it with a lot of grace. I hope that it had become like something that she could be able to talk more with the other women about. Yeah. Because I think it's really important because it's just easy in these situations to dismiss, you know, people that enact domestic abuse for obvious reasons. But when you have a situation like hers, it's not that easy.
Yeah. It would be so interesting actually to hear her in conversation with Taylor about this. Given what Taylor's been through. And Taylor was actually on Jeff Lewis Live, not to mention him again today. And she said that her and Gina like basically don't have a relationship. It's not like animosity. It's just they don't like have a friendship, unfortunately. And I will say, I think OC more than a lot of other franchises like actually puts their real issues out in front. And it's also interesting given the Shannon of it all, because she has for years put all of her stuff out in front, but this is the one thing where she's trying to hold this like secret about her relationship with what's his name, John Jansen. But her friends are willing to open it up for her, which is like Heather getting the blame for this is wild to me.
True. And like carrying the blame onto Watch What Happens Live when she was on with Vicky this week as well.
Yeah.
Like she's still angry with Heather.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too what you're saying about sort of like their willingness to reveal themselves, because like when one of my big gripes with Salt Lake City is like I've watched 3 seasons of this show now and I feel like I have no idea who Meredith Marks is as a human being. Yeah. Lisa, same thing. Like I don't know these women at all. And whereas with Salt Lake City, I really feel ingratiated in the lives of all of these women.
Orange County, sorry.
Yeah. The fact that we don't even know how Heather Gay got that fucking black eye.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Also, sorry, I don't believe that hot mic moment was real.
Oh, conspiracy theorist. Wow. Yeah. I mean, Orange County, we're gonna be getting more Vicky.
Yeah.
Which I do think like she came back a little like tail between the legs, ready to perform. And like she like based on like the Watch What Happens Live, which is probably more, we've seen her more there than actually on the show thus far. It feels like she knows what she should be doing at this point now.
Yeah. Also, to your point about Tamra, I wanted to go back and talk about like how she's going hard. But I do think that this conversation, this episode with Jen, shows that Tamra does know when to kind of come back a little bit and put on the fake tears and like make up again to continue the cycle.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's like one thing I just can't stand about Tamra though is like when she does these apologies, it's like she never allows the other person to get in a word edgewise. Yeah. So she comes in there and she's like delivers the big apology and it might be genuine, but it's like, why don't you take a beat to like hear from Jen and allow Jen to express how she feels? And I think particularly for Jen being a new wife, she's having a hard time getting a word in edgewise and asserting her position in things. She does it in other scenes with the other women and telling them, but it's like in that scene with Tamra, it's like Tamra was talking at her.
Yeah. Heather Dubrow, Mark Cuban, Javier's. I looked up this Fireside app less reviews than this measly little podcast.
Wow.
Like, I would say, like, not even triple dig.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. It's also, Javier's has put in new perspective since Michael Wolfsmith, Vicky's son, called it mid on Instagram stories recently.
I mean, having been there, I would not say max. Yeah. So maybe I'm with him mid. Yeah, definitely mid.
Now, do you think what's interesting is like there was a time, I think like around 2020 when there was a big drumbeat, and I'm sure I was one of the people being like, people like Kelly Dodd, people like Ramona, people like Vicky shouldn't be on this show.
Right.
And it's interesting in this moment right now with Ramona coming back for Ultimate Girls Trip and seeing Vicky right now that I feel like as a whole, the fandom has come around on recognizing the fact that like we actually like seeing problematic people on these shows.
What's interesting with that, however, is like the current news cycle around Aaron and the Trump donation and stuff. Because like it's almost like the OGs kind of can get away with it a little bit because like we expect you to be this.
You've put in the work of making great television.
Yeah. Whereas like this new person, it's like, oh, we liked you. Like, why'd you do that?
But this also gives us a topic for the reunion for Aaron.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like an interesting conversation because people who are part of the drumbeat who are saying that kind of stuff are making, like you said, exceptions for certain people just based on longevity or whatever. Like if you really want to drill down and go through everyone's donations and boycott every show that features one of these people, then good luck. You're only watching Two Cities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Why don't we wrap this up with our Freak of the Week and the One True Queen? Diving into a city we have not heard from in a minute, Real Housewives of Miami.
Look up their donations too, by the way.
Yeah.
No, you don't want
Afraid.
No, you don't. Especially one of our faves, I think. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, Freak of the Week. Lenny Hochstein. So he announced his engagement online this week, and there's like a whole photo shoot on a cliff. To me, besides just like this engagement occurring in and of itself, one of the freakish moments of it, the comment left by Marina Hochstein that said the following: I will be very happy that this time you are getting a woman who you love and respect you. You certainly did not have that in your previous marriage. Good luck, congratulations.
Which is wild because Marina Hochstein was the one filming with Lisa this past season and on Lisa's side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she quickly flipped after that.
Well, I have a feeling a check was
kind
of like, do you want your life bankroll?
So the perfect pairing with this freak is our one true queen, Lisa Hochstein, with a beautiful Instagram story that says the following: congrats to my current husband and his mistress on their engagement.
That's beautiful.
I mean, like, playing it well, while posting beautifully edited photos from Paris.
Beautifully edited.
with her new boyfriend. Yeah,
They were edited for certain.
They were edited. There were edits made.
Was it like Renee Graziano edits?
No, that's like a... Then you're in the... What's the Millionaire Matchmaker lady?
Oh, Patty Stanger.
Yeah, the Patty Stanger, Renee Graziano is like a special category.
I mean, cartoons.
Wait, Aubrey O'Day.
Yes.
No, Renee and Patty are truly like
artists.
Pablo Picasso. Like they will die and then get the recognition like Pablo did.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They look like characters in Kim Kardashian's like app that she used to have.
I wish that I could see the moment when they put, or they or whomever puts the final touch in the edit and sends it to them, and they're like, "That's it. Yeah. That's perfect.
We got the shot.
Yeah, there I am."
Oh my God! Wow, what a week this week, Evan. What a joy for you to be joining us again. A pleasure. A monumental week. You're bringing us the tea from Jill Zarin's event, and
oh yeah, and that gift bag, I gotta tell you, delivered big. I got 8 of them.
So what's 5,000 times 8? 4,500. No.
I can't do math.
What is the best takeaway from the bag?
A lot of skincare.
Yeah.
You just like take a bath in it.
A lot of like vaginal wellness.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah.
Popsicles?
A lot of vitamins and like turmeric supplements and nothing of like particular value. If you know what I mean.
Okay.
Well, subscribe to Shut Up Evan and drop your buffs.
Yeah. I mean, and just like that conversation there is Chef Kiss. I love the POV of your co-host who has never seen a stitch of Sex and the City. Maybe one episode.
Yeah.
Yes, and fans of Deja The View, the premier podcast about The View, might recognize the co-host.
Yeah. Love that.
And also stay tuned. In the coming weeks, I will have my very first housewife that will appear on Shut Up Evan.
Oh my God.
We will be seated.
I usually walk while listening to podcasts.
Okay. I usually drive, so like I'm seated. I mean, we don't have to tell people where to follow you. They know. So patreon.com for a pre-show. We're talking about, and just like that there. We're talking about Beyonce. We're talking about everything. And just like, comment, subscribe, heart, share, retweet.
Love us, please retweet.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
I wanna see ya come through, queen.